welcome everybody. So I'm Nicola Quayle, one of the co-founders of AI Marketers Guild APAC, alongside my colleagues Helen in Sydney, Kevin in the Philippines, Daksh and Anadi in India. So really great to have you all here, and we love to see this community continuing to grow across Asia Pacific. But as I said, we're also welcoming people from those in the Northern Hemisphere. So for anyone new to AIMG, a quick bit of context. So it originally started in the US, brainchild of David Berkowitz. And after Daksh and I saw the momentum there, we reached out to David to see if we could build an APAC community in our local time zone and highlight, pioneers in this region, practical applications of AI in marketing, and of course, regional thought leaders. So we've been running monthly webinars, and this is the first one for 2026, and we couldn't be more excited about our guest today. We'll also be inviting you to join the Slack community afterwards, so you can kind of keep the conversation going between sessions. But on to today's guest speaker. So I know a lot of us are feeling the shift, organic traffic isn't what it used to be. We've kind of got buzzwords floating around, SEO, AEO, GEO, but, what does it actually mean in practice? So I'd like to welcome Catherine Toms, co-founder of the AI Growth Academy with her partner, Stephen. Given the sharp growth of their business in the last 12 months, educating and upskilling marketers around Australia and the world, we're very grateful that Catherine was able to squeeze us in today. So Catherine's going to share what's changing in search, what still matters, and what you can focus on now to stay discoverable as AI-driven search becomes the new default. Catherine's going to be presenting, but she'll kind of talk about this as well. We really welcome chat, and there'll be Q&A at the end. So just drop your questions in the Q&A as we go. But without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Catherine. So welcome.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you. And thank you all for making the time to join us. We know you're very busy people. So we were actually just chatting before you arrived on what a bad reputation webinars have got. So if you've ever been to a webinar that's like a 20-minute sales pitch and 3 useful things in the middle, or maybe 1 useful thing in the middle, and then a 20-minute sales pitch, that's not this. So buckle up and dive in. We're all about maximum value for your time. We appreciate you being here. We want you to stay here and learn lots and lots out of the next 60 minutes. So as Nick said, it's your session. Please do use chat. I'm sure you've got a billion questions about what the heck is going on with search. What are these things? What do I need to do? What can I ignore? So please do use the chat. I've got Diane with me as well. So she's going to be keeping an eye on the chat, fielding the questions. We've got some live activities as well. So there's going to be polls. So please don't plan to multitask. I've got really bad news. If you thought you were getting the washing on or doing your emails, you're going to need to pay attention. So as Nick said, I'm AI Growth Academy. I've been training marketers in digital technology, data for the last 15, 20 years. I was a digital strategist in an agency the first time around when we had to move online. So really my role is demystifying the technology, helping you understand what you need, what's important, what should you embrace, what can you ignore. And somebody actually described me, I'm totally adopting this. Somebody described me as the calming balm of AI the other day, because I hope to kind of like take away a lot of the fear and a lot of the worry and actually help you sort of navigate through the good stuff. So what we share in the room with you is the front row stuff that we're seeing with all the teams we work with. So as Nick said, we run public courses, and we've got tons of marketers coming in there and talking about their challenges and sharing what they're doing and what's working. And then when we're not doing that, we're inside enterprise teams, a lot of quite big ones, and a lot of companies that you might think have got this AI stuff all figured out. They haven't. So we're sharing with you, exactly what we're seeing inside those teams. So what does the actual shift from SEO to AI search mean for you, your site, your brand, your customer journey? Quick one into chat before we start. Let me know if you are mostly B2C focused, so selling directly to consumers, B2B, or both. It'd be really, really helpful to understand who's in the room. So hop on over onto chat and let me know the mix of who we've got here, that would be super helpful. Fabulous. Thank you. Good to see those answers coming through. Right, we've got right mixed bag. I think we're about 50-50 at the minute. It's like watching the horse racing or something coming through. Okay, so going to do 3 things today. Number 1, have a look at the big picture stuff. So what's actually shifting and changing? What does that mean for habits? What does that mean in terms of like search traffic and the way they're searching and how they're searching? Then some really simple steps, what we're learning, and we are learning is the optimum word here. We are still learning how AI engines show up different, decide what to show, decide what's visible. But we're going to share with you the mechanics of what we know is working today and best practice advice. And then a couple of things that you could do immediately if you want to suss out, like, where are you at and some activities to kind of get on with. So habits are changing. So finish this sentence for me. For years, search has meant what? If you had to have one word to finish that sentence, what would that word be? So for years, search has meant, yes, Helen, of course. That's a virtual bottle of Veuve Clicquot winging its way to you. It's meant Google, hasn't it? I know, sorry, Nick, it sounded like a trick question, but no, it really was that simple. Search has meant Google, hasn't it, really? Yes, okay, we've had Bing and a few others, but predominantly when we've talked about search and how do we show up in search, it's all been those blue links and how do we get onto page 1 of Google. And that's really, really shifting. And what we're seeing changing is like a few different things. But is there anything you've seen change in your search habits in the last year? Have you seen anything change what you're doing? Anybody else? Yeah, Copilot, Perplexity, using AI for more specific questions, going over onto Gemini. Yeah, we can see it's really starting to fragment, isn't it? So that there's 3 things that are really shifting. Oh, sorry, my animation's gone a bit weird there. 3 things are changing. 1, where we search. 2, how we search. And then the third element, actually, who's doing the searching. So if we pick those apart one by one and kind of look what's going on behind the scenes, where we search, yes, we're still going to Google, but even within Google, AI is built into all of it. So we're starting to get a lot more AI overviews. And what's interesting about AI overviews is actually the amount of real estate that they are taking up on the page. So if you think about how we used to fight for attention between those top 10 links, now the AI overview is actually taking up the predominant amount of that first page, meaning there's a lot less space and a lot more fighting for attention if you're not rocking up in the AI overview. So you might have been able to be in one of those top 10 links previously, but you've got pushed down. So really below the AI overview is now becoming below the fold, and it's getting harder to get sort of visibility if you're not in that top AI overview. The other thing that's happening, and Nick, you mentioned this at the beginning, we're all seeing a decline in website traffic, and that is due to the rise of zero-click. So has everybody heard yes, no into chat? Have you heard of zero-click? I'm getting a few no's. I think, yeah, I'll explain. So zero-click basically means people are going into Google or going into an AI engine, and what they're able to do now is actually find the information without having to take that next click. So they're still discovering, they're still researching brands, they're still looking into things, they're still weighing up the pros and cons of different products or different opportunities, but they're not clicking because they're getting all the information they need here. So they don't then have to take that next step into your front door. So it sounds like it's really, really bad news. And you're like, oh, far out. Zero-click's going to, kill my business and it's going to kill my website. What it actually means is click-throughs to your website have just moved further down the funnel or further down the buyer journey, because people are doing more of that research at the top end on AI and finding those results before they need to come into the front door. So it might mean that your traffic is less, but really it should then be higher intention, more likely to convert when it does come through, because there's a lot more high intent and research that's been done. So moving on. Okay, so yeah, zero click is this idea that I can get everything I need here. So I don't then have to click into I'm not clicking into the website, but when I do, I'm much more likely to be higher converting and higher intent. A couple of you mentioned this as well on chat. We're seeing a lot of traffic also moving into other places. So a few of you mentioned Perplexity or using, Atlas. There's a bit of an AI arms race at the moment, isn't there? That they're all trying to build search into the functionality. They all work slightly differently as well. Google obviously really skewed to pulling down from what's on Google or YouTube. Perplexity is really great for like up-to-date citations and getting kind of the latest stuff that's going on. But they're all kind of trying to come out with their own browsers. So it's really fragmenting all the different places that we can go. And we're even seeing a little bit like, with social media, we're starting to see, we know that there's clear preferences of different audiences hang out on Facebook compared to Instagram, compared to TikTok. We're even seeing those kind of preferences starting to show up in search. So over on Perplexity, we find a lot of like B2B searches. We find a lot of, quite professional, higher earning sort of research going on. Whereas, ChatGPT is a lot more consumer research, and 95% of people that are on ChatGPT are still on the free version. So it's a lot of individuals. Nick, I'm not going to go there with Grok. Grok is not in my recommended list of sites that you should be using for all the unhinged reasons that you can imagine. You can venture into there in your own time and your own territory. So give me a quick then, just in terms of like a sussing then, if you were sort of saying at the moment then, what percentage of your searches would you now start with AI versus going to Google? Or is it still a bit of a mix? Is it still 50-50? You still a good old Google faithful? Now, we're not indicative of normal people because we're all marketers and we're all quite technical and we're all quite interested in this stuff. So I would say normal world, I'll show you, is probably flipped to most of the stats where we are, but there is still a big shift going on. And market projections, and again, they're all projections. We're all a bit finger in the sky at the moment where this stuff's going. But certainly the trend and what we're seeing is a shift towards the LLMs will probably get about 15% of the search market through this year, through the course of this year. So I would definitely say our habits shift quicker because of the roles that we're in, and we tend to be more prevalent to that. But in terms of thinking that through, obviously, we know a lot of our website traffic at the moment has historically been coming from Google, hasn't it? So we now need to start thinking about, all right, if that's dropping off, how are we going to make sure that we start showing up in the other places? And we're at a tipping point at the moment. So I want to say a huge congratulations for showing up today and making the time, because it actually puts you ahead of the curve. So what we're seeing going on is, if we think about it this way, over the course of last year, there was a very slow increase in LLM search. So when we're talking about LLM search, that does also include Google AI, but it would predominantly be Perplexity, ChatGPT, and also, a bit of Claude, some of the other engines. But we started to see a fairly slow. But if you start to look at what's predicted to happen between 26 and 28, all these things start to very, very quickly snowball and become really, really mainstream. And you can see it as well, can't you? And, I go out for coffee with Steve's parents and they're asking me about stuff they've ChatGPT'd. So it's becoming more and more mainstream, isn't it? And I think the prediction is that at some point around about 28, that is going to flip and switch, and we will start seeing that real decline in using old-fashioned Google and that uplift in AI habits just being the norm and what we do. So the good news is we're here, aren't we? We're right at the beginning of 26. So if we want to capitalize on that traffic shift, we're in the right place now to start building for it. We're not sitting at the end of 28 going, oh God, it's fallen off a cliff. What am I doing? We're getting ahead of that curve, and we're in the right place to make this your competitive advantage. But again, to go back to, if you've been in marketing for quite a while, I look back and long for the glory days where you could build a Facebook page and get followers, or you could post something on Instagram and the algorithm would show it to people. I feel like that's where we are at the moment. This is the land of milk and honey, people. It's like, if we want to get AI search traffic, now's the time, because everybody's going to be piling in and it's going to get harder and harder and harder. So you want to be jumping on that now and doing what you can now. So what does it all mean? Firstly, of course, we love a good acronym, don't we? We wouldn't be in marketing without an acronym, would we? So a couple of acronyms, and Diane's got some little explainers that she'll pop into chat for you as well. There's a lot of stuff getting thrown around at the moment. You've probably heard GEO, AEO, SEO. So to put it simply, think about GEO as like generative engine optimization. So exactly the same as SEO has been for years. It's all the kind of different elements that come together to help your site get found and be visible and trusted by an AI, an AI chatbot. So wherever it's a tool of like ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity. So plain English is like, how do you make sure you're going to get your brand mentioned? And later on today, I'll share with you kind of like 4 key elements that we're seeing really, really help. AEO is quite a specific part of GEO. And if you think about how your behaviours have changed, when we go on to Google, we tend to write quite short-ish keyword references, don't we? That's the way that our brains have been programmed. We'll go in and type in women's shoes wedding or something like that. The way that AI is training us, it's much more question-based. So we will tend to go in and write more questions. So we're shifting away from keywords to thinking about the questions that people might want to ask. And that's always been the foundation of good content strategy, hasn't it? There's nothing different there. I mean, Nick, you guys in Insights, it's just good understanding, isn't it? It's like, what's my audience? What's my pain point? What are they worried about? What questions are they asking? But we want to be thinking about our strategy going beyond just those good old keywords to how do I answer the right questions so that when somebody goes in, that shows up. So back in the old day, I might have typed in, a search query that looks something like this. I'm looking for a new CRM. I might have just gone in and said, best CRM for small business. Now I'm more likely to do like a research phrase. I'm more likely to show my level of intent. I'm more likely to have different buyer questions or pain points coming up. So my research and the way I ask questions to surface different brands becomes quite different because, I'm going to give them context and say, oh, I'm this business. I've got this many customers. Research and find the best options for me, include my business needs, price points, and it's going to give me back a whole load of different research without me having to go back and forth with 25 different searches. So it's really shifting the way we need to understand our customers and the kind of questions that they might be asking. So average AI queries are containing, and I even find this really short. My queries would be way longer than this. But on average, there's like 10 or 11 words compared to the old keywords of 2 or 3. So let me pause there just before we go on to who's searching. I do this really nerdy thing, and it's a 1 to 5. And a 1 is like, Catherine, I'm utterly lost. What the heck are you talking about? Through to a 5 is like, yeah, I'm following along. I'm across this. I'm good. Can I just do a quick 1 to 5 check-in on how's everybody doing so far? I think Nick loves that. I'm doing live research in the webinar. Oh, Dakash is a 6. I love that. Great. Fabulous. And any questions, please just ask away as we go through the chat, and I'll pick them up as we go. The final interesting element, and this is a little bit more future forward, but we are already starting to see it showing up, is who's searching. So we're moving to a world, really, aren't we, where we've got dual marketing. So we've got to think about optimizing our content for humans, but we also need to start thinking about how we're going to optimize our content for AI assistants. And we had quite a lot of B2B on the call, didn't we? And we're seeing a lot of shifts in the B2B buyer journey. I don't even think we're calling it a journey anymore. It's a loop, isn't it? Or a tangled bowl of spaghetti. The way that B2B buyers are using AI. We work with an agency here in Melbourne, Green Hat, that some of you may have heard of. They bring out quite a lot of research about B2B buyer behaviours every year. And they have found that the outreach point has moved further down the funnel, quite a lot further down the funnel. And AI is coming up a lot higher in the funnel. So at the point where B2B might be going out to research anything, we know now we've got big buying groups and we've got lots of decisions to be making. They'll still have brands in the consideration set. They don't just go in with a blank sheet of paper. So a little bit like my CRM one, I'd still be stacking up, oh, tell me about HubSpot versus Go High Level versus Salesforce, whatever. I've still got those brands as my starting point. So actually, the importance of brand becomes almost more important than ever because you want to be part of that initial query and part of that initial consideration set. But what's going on is they're reaching out to salespeople or picking up the phone or talking to people a lot further down the process because they can actually self-service a hell of a lot of this using AI. So part of it is them going on to AI and asking questions, but increasingly we're finding that people might use deep reasoning or deep research to do this for them. So they'll go in and put in a prompt like I did, and they'll send the AI off and the AI will do all that market mapping and bring back its answer. But the AI is not neutral. It's stacked to kind of picking certain brands and choosing certain content. So it's shifting the influence. We've got this third influencer coming in now in AI, bringing different brands into the consideration set. But yes, absolutely, Nick, as you said, the brand is then that shortcut to trust because we know that, oh God, what is it? Is it something like 8 out of 10 B2B buyers already know who they're going to buy from before they even start? So all they're doing is stacking this research to reinforce that when they go into the meeting and go, yeah, we want those guys, they've backed it up with their homework. So it is really important that we're in that consideration set and that AI doesn't say anything negative about us or doesn't give incorrect information. So the whole buyer's journey in B2B is shifting a little bit. And then over for our friends on B2C. So give me a yes if you're B2C. Let me know who I'm talking to here. Give me a Y if you are B2C. Hop into chat and say, yes, I'm here. Oh, great. Thanks, Caroline. Thanks, Chris. So over on B2C, what we're seeing over there is bringing the basket to the customer. So you guys would probably have heard of things like headless commerce and how do we reduce the steps in the path to purchase? And AI is finally kind of solving this. We've been talking about it with brands for years. And, clearly we had the click to buy and Instagram and a few other bits and bobs along the way. But really now B2C is enabling people just to click and buy within this particular example is Google. But obviously within ChatGPT, within Perplexity, you can send them off and do research. You can set up things like price trackers now. So if I'm wanting to get a new dining room table or a new pair of Nike trainers or a flight to England, I can start setting up agents that will track pricing and monitor stuff for me. But I can also just buy there and then. So as suppliers, we then become more responsible for the fulfillment, for the logistics, but actually the shop front starts sitting somewhere else. So what Google have built is something called UCP. I'll pop that into chat for you. Put simply, it's just a universal way of managing baskets. So the way that you build products on your website will then have a certain format that enables Google to kind of like pull them through and people to buy. And it's being funded by, your usual Visas and MasterCards and all the rest of it, that there's an e-commerce then built within Google. So if you are in e-commerce world or, selling direct to consumer, this is kind of the stuff you're going to want to get across, because it's going to influence the way you do your product listings or the way that customers can then find, connect and buy. So again, we'll see less traffic going through. But if you think about that from a consumer perspective, the convenience factor of just one-click purchasing is quite terrifying. I'm going to have to stay off my late night scrolling. Accidentally have the doorbell ringing every 5 minutes with stuff I've bought by accident. So that's kind of what's going on. Now, I've got I would love to see everybody's faces just for a moment. So if you can, and you are happy to, we love to get a quick snap of everybody while they're online. So if you can pop your camera on and just join us, even if it's just momentarily, just Dakash.
Do you want to stop sharing your screen, Catherine? So they
I will. Yeah. I will. There we go. Oh, lovely to see you all. How marvellous. Oh, there's Caroline. Well done. Oh, look how beautiful you all are. I don't want you to leave me again. Keep me cameras on. All right, Diane will tell us when we're ready.
Okay, you ready?
Yay.
Okay, yay.
We good? Yeah, don't take the hands off the steering wheel.
No, exactly.
I don't want you waving. Now, technical. Let's just make sure I've reshared before we start moving.
Oh,
on.
yes.
Can we see?
Yep, done.
Good job. All right, perfect. We are at the halfway mark already, team. Fabulous. Okay, so that's the big picture on search and search habits. So any questions that anybody would like to ask before we move on, or any questions there at all? We can come back to it at the end, but if anybody's got any questions. But essentially what's happening is, probably three big takeaways. Number one, the fragmentation. So people are starting to search in different places. Number two, it's affecting the way we search. So less keywords, more conversation and questions. And number three, we do need to start thinking about the future. It's not happening yet, but more that research and reasoning and agents that we're going to be able to send out. And I can't wait till an agent can go and book all my flights for me. It'd be lovely. But any questions on that? Not yet. All right, keep going. All right. So what the heck do you need to do about it? So this is the how part. Yes, like exactly the growth hacks and the top tips that are coming up. You've lined that up marvelously. So the first big myth I want to blow up for you, though, is SEO is not dead by any stretch of the imagination. You get these like wild articles floating around and just saying, oh yeah, it's all move on. It absolutely isn't, because the way that the LLMs search and the way that the LLMs have learnt is based on the foundations of Google, and clearly the foundations of what makes a good website discoverable and visible and mechanically work well still are the absolute foundation of getting you into the consideration set. So the fundamentals are what will help, AI find you and make you discoverable and keep you visible. So when we think about it, you don't want to over-index in any one of these. It's almost like, the magic trifecta is all three. So we've still got to have our SEO, but then we do need to think about GEO and AEO. So how we're going to show up and be discovered, and how we're going to answer more questions that our customers might have is kind of the trifecta now for digital visibility. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go backwards to go forwards. And it is, the kind of good housekeeping stuff, but actually, have you got good SEO? Is your SEO really well at the moment? Have you sorted out all your broken links? Have you got good site structure and speed? Are you mobile friendly? Have you got your site maps? Have you got really smart internal linking and robot text and stuff like that? So that's your first step. So SEO is not dead. You've still got to have really, really good SEO hygiene. From there, then, there's 4 pillars of AI that you're going to want to think about. The first one is doing prompt research. So this is, I guess, building on the idea of keyword research. And instead of just keywords, starting to think of that next step of, right, if my customer was to go on to an AI engine, what would they search for? What would those prompts look like? And start really getting into the headset and the mindset. So a lot of our traditional SEO search engine, SEO tools, so things like SEMrush, and if you don't follow you should. Rand Fishkin is probably the smartest brain. I don't know if I've spelled his name quite right, actually, but you'll find him. Rand Fishkin is probably the smartest guy when it comes to all things AI. He publishes some fantastic content about all this stuff. But think to that next level then, what's changing about old keywords and what's moving to now conversations? And you can start to sort of unearth, you can even go into the AI engines and ask them, you take your persona, put your persona into an AI engine. What would this person ask about this subject? What kind of questions might they come up with? Because then what you're able to do is start thinking about, well, how am I going to plan my content to be the answer to that question? So whether that's from a product perspective, the highest rated suitcase through to recommended AI training services, or Nick, you were talking about, somebody finding you for insights and research. Did they share anything with you about what they'd looked at or how you showed up?
Yeah, well, it was a ChatGPT search. They just said, I need to do some research. Can you give me the top 5 market research companies? And I don't know, maybe it was Sydney or something like that. And but then classic, he did an inquiry and we were the only ones who got back to him. So I was like, so that's still the human that needs to get back. But it did come up in ChatGPT, so that was good.
Yeah, that's great. That's brilliant that you showed up. So so it's thinking about what are all those questions that customers might ask, so that we can start planning our content around them. And then that's going to give you more chance of being the one that shows up just because you've thought about your content. So obviously that's the heart of it. What's quite interesting about AI though, is it really looks at content clusters. Okay, so rather than having a really thin voice, this is again for B2B and thought leadership, rather than scattergunning around and talking about a lot of topics, it really looks for you to have a unique perspective or a voice on particular topic clusters that it understands are linked. So you kind of imagine it almost a little bit like a tree, and your content is the tree, and then it's got all the different branches, and it can start to then learn more about what you talk about. The interesting thing that's different to SEO though, is with AEO or GEO, SEO only used to look at your website, didn't it? It didn't then take into consideration, or these are the things that Nick talks about on LinkedIn, or, oh, she's done a YouTube video over there, or, oh, she's been on this podcast, or, oh, hang on, she talked on that panel. What's interesting about AI is it then looks at all those different signals and it starts to look for that topic consistency across your owned, earned, and paid channels. And that's what really helps build the understanding of what you do and builds the trust. So thinking about how you're going to have particular topics that you want to own, that's always been part of our content strategy. But that consistency starts to matter when you sit on a panel or when you speak on a podcast or when you publish an article. Having that connectivity between what you're doing on your website and then what's happening on those broader channels or broader places, it's almost like, imagine that backlink strategy, but on steroids. So having content clusters is more important, and that helps kind of like really show ownership and expertise on particular categories and subjects. Trust signals. Okay, so we've always had trust signals, haven't we? So trust signals in SEO have been, trusted backlinks. So again, they're still really, really important. If people are citing you as an expert, or your products have been recommended in a list, or an influencer's sharing your products, that all gives those signs back of expertise. So again, AI is a bit more robust. It doesn't just look at one source. It goes out and looks collectively at all those different places. So you've probably seen quite a lot being talked about with Reddit and review sites and things like that. So it's starting to then scan for people's perceptions of you. It's taking into account reviews. So again, it's getting that much more holistic look than perhaps just a pure old SEO website review would get. So AI will then weigh up multiple independent sources. So you've got what you say, But it's that classic, isn't it? It trusts what other people say about you more than what you're saying about yourself. So the more you are published in external thought leadership pieces, or you've got people writing nice things about your brand or sharing positive reviews. Yeah, 100% Nick, things like Discord groups, Reddit sites, review sites, all of that collectively is giving the expert signals. So you want to be publishing expertise in all those other collective places where AI might look for you. So obviously that's one of the reasons why we collaborate with so many of these amazing AI marketing communities, because AI just keeps going, oh, she's there and you're there and you're there. So it collectively builds up this pot of expertise. And then the final element is, as we said, that technical stuff. Now I'm going to take you in a second into a page on our website to show you how we've changed the way we build. And again, I don't know if anyone's been in SEO as long as me, but this is about, again, it's back to kind of like, we don't want to do keyword stuffing. So we don't want to over-index and start just building so that AI can see us and cite us and understand us. We want to build in a way that is really, really human friendly, but it also makes it easy for the AI to scan and see what the website is about. But really, that's good UX, isn't it? Nobody wants to read a massive, big, long wall of text about anything. They want really easy tags. They want quick snippets that they can scan. So we're making it for humans and AI systems to scan and read our pages without extra effort. So the kind of things that are really counting there is your site architecture. The more you can link back related content and build up pools of content, things like your fast load speed, but also loves lists. God, it loves a list. Listicles, articles, multimodal content. So it loves to see that you're using not just text, but imagery or videos are being embedded. All of that really helps then make it easier for the AI to scan and see what your page is about. So let me show you, I'm going to show you one of our pages, and then I'm going to take you behind the scenes to a really good SEO agency here in Melbourne, actually, that published some really awesome content. So what we've changed, you can see my page. I'm now paranoid. I'm just checking in.
You could expand it a smidge if you want to, or is that just a
let me
slide?
zoom in. No, let me zoom in. There we are. There we go. There we are.
Amazing.
Okay. So what we've changed with the way that we build. So this is, we're building a lot of long form content. It's what we do. We're sharing thought leadership. So if you are over in B2C, there'll be slightly different things that you need to do for those products. But if we're publishing any content from like a B2B world, a few things that are working really, really well. This is almost like your equivalent of your meta description on a page. AI loves a really short, just summary at the top. What's the article about? And I also think humans do too, don't they? Because it helps hook people in. What am I going to learn about if I read this article? So we've got the summary section. We've then got these anchor links. So building your copy and content in a way that people can just skip around and get to the bit that they want. Really great for humans. For some reason, AI absolutely loves it as well, because it can break down all the different elements and see what it's about. So using these anchor links and allowing people just to skip down and go to different sections of the page is really, really good. We then, same good old UX as normal, lots of white space, bullets where it's necessary, lists, scannable bits of text, not big, heavy walls of text. Breaking stuff up with an image that's then got alt text on it that it can understand what it's about. A list, so good old, 1 to 6. YouTube content, particularly, as we said, Gemini loves, because it's Google. They love unearthing YouTube. So clearly they're quite skewed towards stuff that contains a YouTube in it. So linking out to, other thought leaders that have got a YouTube video about the topic you're talking about, or content you've created. A couple of other bits then. FAQs. So you might have seen this, but FAQs are the kind of things. So this is me trying to imagine if somebody had gone on to AI and I want them to unearth my article to find out about AI voice and AI in marketing, what can I actually do with voice AI in marketing? Does voice AI help improve the quality of outputs? Why is voice AI becoming so popular? Does anyone do training in voice AI? So I tried to get inside that customer mindset and use that, the AEO to answer some of the questions that they might be thinking of. And then the final element is expertise. So linking back out to my LinkedIn, having a little bit of an author profile, and then some extra links as well to, other related content and other things that are going to be sort of related to that. So you've got all of the content kind of linking, but, embedding them within the, within your articles or having unique frameworks and stuff is really going to help as well. So the elements that we're seeing working then, as we said, these guys, Diane, can you stick Studio Hawk into the chat for me, actually? They've got some really good resources. Nick, they're sharing some really good stuff. So they've got a couple of playbooks that you can download and they won't hound you and try and sign you up for services, or if they do, you can send them my way. But they've got some really, really good resources and really good things to get hold of. So when you look at their website, if you want an example of who's doing it right, as we said, everything I just showed you, they're doing the same. So you've got a quick summary at the top. You've got additional expertise and other related information. You've got trending tips over here that are up to date and, recent. You've got those anchor links, referencing expertise. So bringing in other experts that are talking about those topics that have got, really well ranking content, multimodal. So using imagery, using video content, using different, rule number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, that listicle approach, YouTube links, listables, and FAQs. So they're kind of, if you're creating any content, they're kind of like the essential ingredients at the moment that are really, really helping. So some sort of good walkthroughs there of just some very basic technical stuff that you could get your head around. So let me do another quick check-in because we've got 15 minutes left to share the last bit with you and answer any questions. So if we looked at those 4 steps, from doing some prompt research to thinking about those content clusters to digital PR, digital visibility, building your pool of expertise outside, and then finally that technical structure. If I do a 1 to 5 there, how's everybody getting on with, again, 1, you've lost me completely, to 5, yeah, I get it. I probably need to go and have a look at my website or talk to my agency. I think in preparation, you don't need to overhaul your website immediately, but you do need to start thinking about how we're going to build for the future and how we're going to build for AEO and how we're going to start creating this content. The other thing AI loves is recency. So a really good exercise to do is to go back through all your old content. How could we repurpose it and rebuild it in a new format? How could we update it? It's not going to, it's not going to search for old stuff. The one challenge with AI is the caches, though. It doesn't update as regularly. Even when you update something with Google, it can take it a little bit of time to catch up. Perplexity can sometimes dig stuff out that's like 4 or 5 months old. And you're like, but I've updated it. Why are you still saying that? So one of the challenges with AI is going to be hygiene and maintenance and just making sure that it's got our latest things, because it's not updating as regularly as Google is. That will surely change, but currently it can still dig out outdated stuff. Like I did a bit of an audit the other day and something it was saying about us was just completely wrong. And I was like, where did you get that from? So it's a little bit more challenging from that perspective. Okay, so final things then. I've got a question for you then. Have you tested how you're showing up in AI search results? So just do 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, yes, we're showing up well. 2, yes, I'm bloody worried about it. 3, no, I haven't done it, but it's on my to-do list. 4, didn't know I needed to. So thanks, Nick. Thanks, Chris. Jump on in and let me know. Great. That's good to hear, Alison. I'm glad it's on your to-do list. Yes. Perfect. You are going to want to do this as an activity and do it quite regularly. A quick prompt for you. Obviously, there's way deeper stuff that we can do, but Diana will pop this in for you. But just a very, very quick prompt that you can do is this one. So start with that first line is really, really important. Ignoring any saved memories or personal data you have about me. What does your general training data say about your brand, your company, your product name? If you don't use that first line, you're going to merrily think you're amazing. It's a little bit like, you know when you go into Google and you go, oh, I'm the top link, I'm so good. But all it's doing is giving you back your top link because your behavior is you've clicked that website 27 times in the last 2 days. It's the same thing. If you're working on any kind of signed in, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google, it's gathering data about you, your brand, what you do. As you interact with it, it's building up a knowledge base and it's building up its brain on what you do. So if you don't put that line in and you go, tell me what you know about me, it's going to draw on its brain of knowledge. You don't want to do that. It's a little bit like you want to go into Google and search incognito because you want to see what, Joe Average sees, not what you get shown. So using that line will help you get a more neutral response of what's actually in the training data rather than thinking you're doing amazingly. And then you ask someone else to test it and they're like, no, you did not come up. So that's your kind of like 101. And you're going to want to do that across all the engines. So you're going to want to do it individually across Perplexity, Google, Claude, and ChatGPT. They're probably the 4 main. You go into Grok, if you knock yourself out, Nick, if you want to get into Grok. But they're the 4 main ones that people are going to be using in Australia and APAC. So what you want to go on there and have a look at is, number 1, are you even visible? Does it know about you? Does it know what you do? If it comes back and says, no, I don't have enough data, then your problem is visibility. What do they say or not say about your brand? It's really interesting. You ask a fairly generic question. It's really interesting what it pulls out. And they're all a little bit different. I did an article about this the other week. All the LLMs have got different personalities, which I find absolutely fascinating. And it's to do with the way that they're being trained. So Copilot obviously is very, very corporate, and Microsoft. Gemini at the moment is quite similar. It's within the Google workspace, so it's very functional and practical. Claude's all a little bit more empathetic and ethical, and Google and ChatGPT and Google AI probably sit somewhere in the middle. So what it draws out is actually based a lot on the way it's been trained and the kind of information it looks for and how it's been trained to communicate with you. So it's quite interesting to compare what comes out of each of the different LLMs and then just to see what shows up. When you read it as well, you get a general sentiment about whether it's positive, negative, neutral, and that can really help you, literally just cutting and pasting this and then going, right, have a look at this through my buyer's eyes. What's missing? What questions would you have? What would you wonder about? How am I coming across? And then, as I said, if anything is incorrect or missing, all you can really do is refresh that content on your site or remove it or remove that link or make sure it's not indexed. You kind of can't get it off the AI, but it will kind of catch up. So that's your kind of step 1 is do that visibility test today. So Diane, do you want to just pop into chat for me that second piece as well so that everybody's got that task of what they're looking for? And as I say, I literally just went through each of them and had a look, and it was really interesting. They definitely all pulled out quite different things and quite different stuff. Inside our paid program, don't worry, this is not the bit where we start playing the jingle and give you the discount code. But inside the paid program, we do go a lot deeper into, the other things you're going to want to think about is, competitor benchmarking, much more market mapping, buyer research, what kind of trending questions might be coming up so that you can start to plan your content strategy to be the answer for those questions even before people are looking for them. And where are those emerging gaps? So again, just as we've done good old keyword research and tried to plan topics and plan trends to show up for, they're the kind of things that you need to really do to have that robust audit. I'll share a tool with you as well. So we love a good tool in AI Growth Academy. This one's from HubSpot. So it's really, it's in beta, but it's pretty robust. And what it's doing is it will go through and have a look at how your site shows up through the lens of OpenAI, Perplexity, and Gemini. So you go in, give away a little bit of your lovely lead gen data, pop your website in. You can only do one of these a day. So I've prepared one earlier and it does take a few minutes. So I'll show you one that I've done for our brand earlier. But it gives you a really good snapshot. So it will go in and tell you across the 3 areas how you're showing up. So it gives you an overall score of the different ones. And then it goes into like a real analysis summary. So what's really nice is obviously I still did it myself individually. I wanted to see myself firsthand what was coming out. But it then gives you the analysis summary, talks about things like brand recognition. Brand recognition is challenging for us at the moment. As Nick and Helen know, we've been the Marketing Growth Academy for years. We decided to rename last year and go all in on AI, but that takes a while to build authority. It's quite a new topic. So no surprises there, but that we're moving in the right direction. But it does give you some really good suggested takeaways as well. So it's worth doing. I don't recommend these tools if I think that they're a little bit rubbish, but I actually think that one is worth taking the time and popping your details in to get a little bit of a view back on what it thinks. And then finally, is anyone here working with external agencies or partners for your SEO? Does anybody have external partners or agencies? I would be having a chat with them. So you don't, and as I said, you don't want to find that they've kind of go, yeah, we're ditching SEO. It's all about, chasing AEO and AI engines. It's not. The signs that you're looking for is that, yes, they are thinking about the future. They are looking beyond keywords. They are starting to think about AI and how you're going to show up, and that probably those 4 key pillars, they're across them and they're thinking about that when it comes to your strategy. So I'd want to be having a few questions to make sure. And I'd also, I wouldn't be getting hung up on vanity data like, your page impressions or site visits. You're going to want to start tracking more robustly where traffic's coming from different sources and how people are discovering you over and above just Google traffic. So that is us and a wrap for today. So we've looked at obviously 3 things: the search shifts and what's changing, just to get everybody across where things are going. Those 4 essential steps to shift you from SEO to GEO. And if I was going to walk away and do 2 things today, I'd do that, individual audit myself, and I'd jump on that HubSpot grader and have a look at what's going on. As I said, I wouldn't throw my SEO strategy or my content strategy out the window tomorrow. You do not need to do that, but you do need to start planning to move forward. So while we've been busy chatting, Diane, have we got a LinkedIn post that you've done? Ooh. She has. She's amazing. So the power of AI behind the scenes. While we've been busy chatting, we have jumped on and done a LinkedIn post for you. So talk about
one less thing I have to do tomorrow.
There you go. So you're going to jump on and let us know what you enjoyed out of today's session. Comment, share, ask us any questions. And if you do want to learn more, I did promise, as I said, that my sales pitch is about 45 seconds. You can time me. But we go into a lot more detail about how AI is impacting marketing generally. So everything from doing better research and planning and strategy through to ethics and governance and guardrails and what's going on with our buyers and how can you bring AI into your marketing end to end the right way. So we keep all those awesome fundamentals of marketing, but we build on it and amplify what we're doing better with AI. So Diane will pop the links in the chat for you right now. Any questions before we wrap up? I'll stop sharing. Any other questions that anyone would like to ask?
I know that everyone started already looking themselves up. So Kevin's slacky to be going, oh, we're showing up. So yeah, this has been amazing. But before I jump in, Dax, did you, because I know you're all over this, but.
I think, thank you so much. I was driving all through, but it was a fantastic session. And as I end my drive, the session also comes to a wrap. Some amazing insights. Really looking forward to, put this into practice, and definitely would be exploring, what you are doing. Thank you so much for the amazing session.
Pleasure, Dusks. Any other questions? Nick, Helen, anybody else? Chris, John, any questions from you?
Everyone has been like blown away. So no, thank you so much. I think it's going to be one of those ones we probably need a follow-up session, and then kind of how everyone's gone and the practical side of it, because it's so new, it's moving so fast. I mean, that's the hilarious thing, that the HubSpot is in beta, so they're even moving at pace and can't keep up with it. So, I mean, that's why we really wanted the session today, because people are just wrapping their heads around it and kind of having to go back to the drawing board. So, and I can't recommend what Catherine and Stephen are doing. So even for your marketing teams, I can do the plug for you, Catherine. But they are moving at pace because the need is there, and probably just trying to keep up with everyone. So thank you. We'll let everyone go back to their evening, morning, noon, and afternoon. Thank you again, Catherine and Diane. That's been amazing.
My pleasure. Feel free to link in or jump on. Happy to answer any questions. And we always believe that there's, we love the marketing industry and we want to see AI improving what we're doing. We don't like this AI slop and this rubbish that people are having a little bit of a tendency towards at the moment. So any knowledge resources, thinking that we can share that helps us, there's a lot of fear in the marketing industry at the moment. And as I said, we want to be that calming balm and that guide for you of just do this next, keep moving in the right direction. It's going to keep changing, but the foundations and fundamentals stay the same. So keep on learning, and well done for coming along today.
Amazing. Thanks, everyone. See you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.